much at all. Why aren't they touching this story? I think it's pretty important.
Because the CIA controls the mainstream media.
Okay.
That's it in a nutshell. You might hear something here and there.
Yeah.
When I look for news to write what's going on, I always look for something that nobody else is talking about, or some piece of information that came up in a search and then disappears the next day. I want to capture that, because that is the information that people need to hear about. Because they'll mention it, because then they say, well, we did. Mm-hmm. CNN will say, we did. We wrote this one article that was out for like 10 minutes, and then we pulled it back. But we did. We covered it.
Yeah. Do you believe that it's the end of property rights as the American people know them?
Well, we never had property rights.
Mm-hmm.
If you pay property tax, you never owned your property. If you have to ask the city for permission to dig a well, you never owned your property to begin with.
It's getting ridiculous, too, as time goes on.
You can't have a watershed. There are cities that have ordinances that say the rain clouds, and the rain comes down over our city, and we own that. So if you collect that rainwater, you're going to be arrested, because you're taking money out of the city's hands. So they own the clouds.
Yeah. So what can the average guy do? It gets so frustrating and so overwhelming, and I can see where they just get so blinded with so much information, they don't even know where to start, even if they're in a situation like this.
My answer to that always, and I've looked at this every which way, and it's not a popular opinion, mm-hmm. Because the alternative media is basically moving the audience toward a specific response to everything that's going on around us. My opinion is stop complying with the system. The system is based on your compliance. It's been set up that way. It's been set up to victimize and create slaves. The slave mentality is rife in our social consciousness, and we police ourselves. And, they do have the little see something, say something campaign everywhere you go. Mm-hmm. But and on the city buses, and when I take the ferry onto the mainland where I live, it says, if you see something, say something. If you see a bag unattended, that could be a bomb. Oh, my God. Stop complying with the system. If you don't like what's happening to you, if you don't appreciate the ethics of the corporation, don't buy from them. If you don't appreciate the ethics of the banking industry, close your bank account. You can survive without a bank account. I've done it for nearly a decade now, mm-hmm. and I don't have a problem paying my bills.
In speaking, you mentioned credit unions earlier, so what about people that say, well, I'm part of a credit union, so I think I'm okay. Because you said you wrote an article regarding that.
Yes, I got an article coming out tomorrow.
Great.
On OccupyCorporatism.com about the National Credit Agency, NCAU, I'm sorry. They are suing the banksters over the mortgage-backed securities fraud. And this is a federal organization that is much like the FDIC, mm-hmm. which means that all of your credit unions, all of your independent, quote-unquote, independent credit unions that just pop up, and they're democratically run because it's a credit union, so everyone has a voice. They are backed by the federal government. They are insured by the federal government, which means that at the end of the day, the bank is going to go with the federal government over your opinion or your vote in the credit union. And people need to understand that. Credit unions are not as independent as they appear to be because they are federally funded and backed by the federal government. So, my opinion, no bank is a good choice. Mm-hmm. No bank is a good bank.
And what about, have you heard Now, this I never heard in the mainstream. Have you heard that China actually owns, like, I think it's in Toledo, Ohio, like they own a piece of that city, and also in Idaho, it's like these little Chinese enclaves that are owned by China, and they're Chinese citizens actually working there, and it's ruled by China. Have you heard that?
No, I haven't, but China has been given special privileges through the Obama administration. They are given first right of auction through the U.S. Treasury on property here in the United States, especially those homes that were seized and are on auction through the foreclosures. So they are purchasing an exorbitant amount of the foreclosed homes, foreclosed buildings, foreclosed businesses, foreclosed properties. They're just eating it up.
Mm-hmm.
And with first right on the there is a it's kind of like a secret market before it goes on to the open to everybody from the U.S. Treasury. Obama gave the Chinese government their own password into the computer system so they can see as it comes up, as these homes get put on. It's kind of like an MLS system.
Oh my gosh.
So they get to see what's coming up before it's officially on the market for auction, and they go ahead and put a bid on it before anybody else does.
Isn't it unbelievable how all this stuff goes on and we don't even know about most of it? It's just really scary.
It is.
But, the sad thing is I think a lot of people don't want to know about it. Because when I talk to people about just the few little things I hear in the alternative media, they think I'm out of my mind.
Oh, sure. Oh, yeah. My friends and family who are not awake, they think that what I do it's like a career and that I'm, like, successful, Like, ooh, my daughter is a radio host. No. Did you hear my show? Did you read the article?
But it's like, it's either that or they say you're being negative. You're a doomsday person. You're just being negative.
Well, that's the social conditioning, folks.
Mm-hmm.
That's the policing. Oh, yeah, don't be a negative Nancy, I get people sending me emails all the time. Why don't you write about something positive? To me, this is positive. To me, knowing what's happening to you instead of walking around going, why does this world stink the way that it does? I wanted to use another word, but I won't. Why is life so hard?
Uh-huh.
Why is it so terrible? Why do people leave? Why do people get divorced so much? Why do I don't know anybody from high school that I was such good friends with, and why do people move away from their families? This is all social conditioning. This is isolationism. This is getting you away from your comfort base and your support base so that you can be more easily victimized. Mm-hmm. And we think that it's normal. It used to be normal that when your parents got older, they moved in with you and you took care of them until they died. Now you just send them to a home and let somebody abuse them, and you pay them money for that.
Right. And
then you wonder why Grandma is so depressed every time you go to see her. Because she shouldn't be living out the last few years of her life away from her children, away from her grandchildren, the things that give her life meaning. She spent all of her life working hard to take care of you, and you stick her in a home because you don't want to be bothered.
Yeah, exactly. She's an inconvenience.
Yes.
It's sad.
We do that to each other. We do that to our kids. How many times do we sit down and talk to our kids? Like, really talk to our kids and find out how they feel and what they think about what they're learning in the indoctrination stations.
Or sending your 6-week-old baby to a nursery school. That one I can't understand.
I made the decision when my son was born. I have a son and a daughter now.
Mm-hmm.
My son was born. I just started teaching him things and more different languages, learning how to read and write. When it came time for him to go to school, I went and looked at the different schools where I could send him and the curriculum,
mm-hmm.
and I realized that he knew more than his counterparts would going into first grade.
Mm-hmm.
So I just said, I'm not going to do this to him. I'm not going to dumb him down
or
put him in a situation where he isn't challenged and be told by the indoctrination stations that my son needs to be on a mood stabilizer in order to continue to go to school, which a lot of parents are being told. So I homeschool both of my children. My daughter is about 3, and she sits at the table with me and my son while he's learning, and she's learning just alongside us, you know?
Good for you. Okay, well, Suzanne, we're running out of time, so any final thoughts on the PATH bill that you might want to leave the listeners with?
Go to the article. The article's entitled "New House Bill Wipes Mortgage Fraud Clean for Banksters" on my website, occupycorporatism.com. And please click on the links and contact Jeb Henserling and all of the people on the House Financial Services Committee, whether or not you are their constituents, and tell them exactly what you think about them legitimizing an illegal system that will allow the banks to keep those homes, take those homes, and even take them from the people who have already won them in court.
Okay. Well, thanks, Suzanne. Thanks so much for your time and this important information. Listeners, today my guest has been Suzanne Posel, Chief Editor and Investigative Journalist of OccupyCorporatism.com. And thanks until next week when we meet again. God bless.
Over 245 years, the American people have enjoyed a certain amount of civility and prosperity in a free society. How did such a strong and leading country go from a prosperous nation with a moral people to such a declining and morally bankrupt nation that promotes depravity and death? Hi, I'm Angeline Marie, host of the Truth Seekers radio show. I've been hosting this show for over 10 years. Now the Lord has put it on my heart to write a book about all I've learned on how we became a soulless society. I'm getting ready to send my book to the editor, but before it's even published, I like to share a couple of the chapters with you, my listeners, for free. All you have to do is visit my website. Go to truthseekersradioshow.com. That's truthseekersradioshow.com, and download the first 2 chapters of my soon-to-be published book about how we became a soulless society and now what we can do to be the light in a time of darkness.
This is the K-Star Talk Radio Network. Kingdom Star Radio Network. Listen 24/7 to Christian biblical teaching and talk radio online at KingdomStarRadio.com. Or download the simple radio app from the Kingdom Star Radio website to listen on your Apple or Android phone or device. Visit KingdomStarRadio.com and listen to the best in Christian teaching and talk today. That's KingdomStarRadio.com.
Over 245 years, the American people have enjoyed a certain amount of civility and prosperity in a free society. How did such a strong and leading country go from a prosperous nation with a moral people to such a declining and morally bankrupt nation that promotes depravity and death? Hi, I'm Angeline Marie, host of the Truth Seekers radio show. I've been hosting this show for over 10 years. Now the Lord has put it on my heart to write a book about all I've learned on how we became a soulless society. I'm getting ready to send my book to the editor, but before it's even published, I like to share a couple of the chapters with you, my listeners, for free. All you have to do is visit my website. Go to truthseekersradioshow.com. That's truthseekersradioshow.com, and download the first 2 chapters of my soon-to-be published book about how we became a soulless society and now what we can do to be the light in a time of darkness.
Good morning, Riverside, San Bernardino, Inland Empire, and listeners around the world. Welcome to the Truth Seekers Radio Show. I'm your host, Angeline Marie. Thanks for taking the time to join us this morning. We're broadcasting from our flagship station, KCAA 1050 AM, the station that leaves no listener behind. If you're located in the Southern California Inland Empire, you'll find us on KCAA 1050 on the AM dial. But if not, you can find us streaming on kcaaradio.com or talkstreamlive.com. You can also hear our program rebroadcast on Liberty Works Radio Network at libertyworksradionetwork.com or on Red State Talk Radio at redstatetalkradio.com. And you can check their websites for broadcast days and times. Also, you can find podcasts posted on kcaaradio.com to listen at your leisure, and you can learn more about our show at truthseekersradioshow.com. Today, my guest is Linda Christina Beauregard. She's the author of a book titled, I Gave Myself Cancer, I Can Take It Away. Alternatives Brought Me Back to Life. And we're going to